What exactly was Taehyung doing at Jungkook's house when no one was there? Why did HYBE end up leaking it now? Will this change everything for BTS? Check out this suspense-filled news, and don't forget to leave comments, like, and subscribe to keep getting updates that reveal the other side of your idol. What happens when the cameras are turned off, the curtains are closed, and only silence envelopes a magnificent mansion known as the resting place of a global star? What if someone you trust the most suddenly acts beyond expectations, and no one knew, until finally HYBE herself spoke up? This question shook millions of fans around the world. Speculation surfaced after an internal leak that HYBE confirmed led the public to one climactic point. What exactly was Taehyung doing at Jungkook's house when no one else was around? The army was silent. Facts that were previously thought to be just baseless gossip are now appearing one by one, complete, detailed, and difficult to refute. But the question is, why now? It all started with silence. A strange silence, suspicious, but also curious. In the past week, there have been no posts from Taehyung. Jungkook was not seen on his live broadcast as usual. Some soldiers with keen eyes began to notice a pattern, changes in expression, tucked-in words, even awkward upload times. But one thing is most striking, the loss of interaction of these two close friends, who usually never absent from the spotlight. Then on Monday morning Korean time, the fandom world was rocked. HYBE, who has been known to be very secretive about the artist's personal affairs, suddenly held a limited press statement attended only by selected media. No live broadcasts, no official recordings. But leaks still happened. In the statement, HYBE mentioned that a report from internal staff regarding unscheduled and non-procedural activities had been investigated. The subject of the report? Kim Taehyung. Location? Jungkook's private home. Initially, the public thought this was one of the usual security issues. But the next sentence in HYBE's leak instantly changes everything. The action is carried out when the house is empty without the knowledge of the owner of the premises. What does that mean? Is this an invasion of privacy? Does this concern personal relationships? Or something more serious? One of the employees whose identity was withheld testified that surveillance cameras at Jungkook's house detected Taehyung's presence at an unusual hour, 2:47 a.m. The door of the house was opened using a personal access code, which was confirmed to be known only to Jungkook's closest people. The question now is, why did Taehyung come quietly? More surprisingly, the recorded data shows Taehyung carrying something neatly wrapped, like a document or perhaps something more symbolic. He was inside the house for almost 2 hours and left the place without a single outside camera capturing his return, as if he knew exactly the blind spots of the camera. When this information began to leak, the army began to dig. Many are thrusting theories. Does this have to do with the contract? Did Taehyung come to pick up something? Or rather, leave something? Another insider, a former security staffer, said that Jungkook's house was indeed equipped with a smart security system that allowed access from certain pre-registered devices. What's surprising is that Taehyung's device is still active on that system, even after all the BTS members went solo and no longer regularly visited each other's homes. Why not delete it? Does it show that Jungkook still believes in him? Or is this evidence that their interaction continues secretly? 2 days after the news broke, fans were shocked by one thing that couldn't be ignored. Jungkook suddenly went live with a seemingly restrained facial expression. He sits in the living room. The background shows the condition of the house is not messy, but there was a picture frame that used to be visible behind it. Now it's gone. And a few seconds before the live began, his voice sounded low, as if talking to himself. Why didn't you just tell me? Was it meant for Taehyung? Or someone else? What shook the most was when Jungkook said the short sentence in the middle of his live ***. Some things shouldn't be found out this way. A moment later, his live died suddenly. Not so long ago, HYBE's official account posted an ambiguous sentence. All truth will be delivered in due time. But has that time come? The next day, images from the house's internal camera showed a corner of Jungkook's workroom place where Taehyung spent about 15 minutes alone. What Taehyung did there is still a mystery. But internal sources say that there was a change in the contents of the table. A USB that was not there before is now recorded there. What's the USB? Why was it just abandoned? Or was it intentionally left out? In the midst of all this chaos, the army began to divide. Some are sure that this is just an ordinary misunderstanding between two friends who trust each other, but others felt it was part of a larger conflict that had long been hidden and HYBE could no longer cover it up ahead of the weekend. Korean media confirmed that HYBE had scheduled a closed-door meeting with each member's representatives regarding security and personal privacy limits. Interestingly, only two names were mentioned in the internal memo: Jungkook and Kim Taehyung, and this is where the hottest spots appear. A former BTS manager who now works as a consultant revealed that there was a sensitive conversation between the two regarding the copyright of a private song. Songs are unreleased and stored only in Jungkook's personal studio backups. Did Taehyung come to access the song? Is it a copyright issue or something more personal? Emotions were heightened when an ARMY man who had won an invitation to a BTS closed-door concert uploaded a handwritten letter allegedly from Taehyung. The letter was incomplete, only a fragment. But one sentence at the end read asterisk, "If you're reading this, you know why I came." There are no dates, no names, only Taehyung's signature handwriting that true fans recognize. The ARMY continues to speculate. Twitter, TikTok, and the Weverse forums are full of their theories, screenshots, and gesture compilations over the past few months. Some began to notice that Jungkook often touched his neck when nervous, and the gesture appeared during his last broadcast. Is he holding something back? Is this evidence that their relationship is tenuous? Or is it just too tight that one secret can change everything? Meanwhile, HYBE has yet to issue a further statement. But rumors say that a major decision will be announced in the near future concerning access, limits, and ownership of the artist's personal assets. And just on Monday evening, an official account uploaded a thumbnail image with two silhouettes, one sitting in the studio, one standing in front of the door. The title is only one line. The picture made all the ARMY freeze. Comments flooded the reply column. Is this the end of Taehyung? Are they hurting each other secretly? Is this evidence of betrayal, or is it precisely sacrifice? We don't know for sure. But one thing is clear. Something happened at Jungkook's house when no one else was around, and only Taehyung knows the answer. Or maybe now, we're all starting to know. And it's like opening Pandora's box. Once one part of this story is exposed, the next wave comes with even more shaking power. Just hours after the image of the mysterious silhouette was released, HYBE, one of South Korea's seasoned entertainment reporters, known for daring to expose the dark side of the industry, wrote an uncensored article implying more than friendship or professional conflict. He stated clearly that there was an unusual personality element in the relationship, which HYBE has known internally for a long time, but which has been covered up for the sake of maintaining the group's image. That sentence set the fandom world on fire. Comments and speculations that once only led to possible differences of opinion have now shifted far into the realm of personal relationships that are much more sensitive and full of controversy. Speculation has begun to mount about the emotional connection between Jungkook and Taehyung, which has been considered very close, too close, according to some observers. Behind the scenes, another narrative emerges. A former stylist who once worked for BTS claimed anonymously that there was a code of silence within HYBE's management not to take issue or question too deeply the interactions between Jungkook and Taehyung over the years. He mentioned moments in which the two requested the same training schedule, shared a private vehicle without staff, even used the same hotel room on tour. Things that are considered unorthodox under the watchful eye of management. Of course, many ARMY consider this as an expression of the closeness of a true friend. But not a few are starting to look at this from a sharper and more suspicious angle. When HYBE started calling it unauthorized access and information that should be private, the fire of speculation could no longer be controlled when a large international fanbase admin posted a screenshot of an email that was said to come from one of HYBE's managers. In the email, it was stated that it is necessary to re-evaluate Taehyung and Jungkook's interaction to avoid public impression that could have an impact on the brand image. This phrase, public impression, makes everything veer from a technical conjecture to a possible scandal. Is HYBE worried about certain perceptions that could harm the reputation of both? Or is there something really going on and at risk of leaking? Not long after, a voice came from the other side. One former personal vocal coach who is known to have guided Jungkook on his solo project said he once came to the house and saw a strange atmosphere, with the walls of the studio littered with notes inscribed with personal messages. He said he didn't want to interrupt, but remembered one thing. One of the posts included the words, "Don't erase what we were just because you're scared." Those words lingered in his mind for months. But now, as all of these events stick out, that piece of the puzzle is starting to feel right, too right. And then, the next shock hit right in the middle of the night. Weverse HYBE's official account deleted old posts from Taehyung and Jungkook containing their mutual interactions. Several soldiers captured the moment before it was lost. Screenshots show supportive comments, heart emojis, and words that now feel full of code. Why is all of that removed now? Is HYBE sterilizing the tracks? Or is this the request of one of the parties involved? The most provocative was on Twitter, when one of the creative staff who used to be involved in BTS's album promotion shoots revealed that there was once an unexpected moment behind the camera, when Taehyung held Jungkook's hand for too long in the middle of a shooting break. He didn't think it would be important. Until now, all eyes were on him. And as if that weren't enough, videos that went viral a few years ago are now being played, reviewed, and dissected frame by frame. The video of the two of them staring at each other for a long time on stage, the video of one of them looking annoyed and avoiding hugs, to the video of Jungkook crying in an interview session and saying, "I just want to be understood without being questioned." Now it means something else, especially when one of the old radio interviews was unearthed, in which Taehyung once said in a half-joking tone, "If I had a secret place, maybe only one person would know, but I won't tell who." Now, the public is asking, is Jungkook's house that secret place? HYBE kept her mouth shut, but their silence actually felt like a confession being withheld. Because the silence that comes with action, such as post deletions, interaction freezes, and internal closed meeting signals that the real storm is yet to come. This is just the beginning. What made things even wilder was when fans realized that over the past week, both Jungkook and Taehyung had both deleted some of their Spotify playlists. Playlists are usually a reflection of their feelings and mood. The songs Longing, Loss, and Confession are now gone. Do they not want the public to link the contents of the playlist with this incident? Or is there a message that they are trying to hide through the deletion of it? All these questions continue to spin while the pressure from the public increases. The international fans began to demand clarification. Trending topics #ProtectTaehyung and #WeStandWithJungkook have taken turns dominating, signaling a sharp polarization within the fandom itself. To his surprise, a major investor in one of HYBE's subsidiaries reportedly called an impromptu meeting due to issues of public figure sensitivity impacting brand share. It's not just personal, it's business, stocks, and investor confidence. As time went on, this all changed from just what is Taehyung doing at Jungkook's house to a much bigger question. What has he been hiding? And why? Just because one night quietly, everything is now on the verge of collapse. Not just about Taehyung's silent presence, but about the consequences of that presence. Not just about the secrets found in that house, but about who should know and who ends up knowing too much. But the most horrifying reality is not what Taehyung did at Jungkook's house that night, but what happened afterwards, which was never planned for the public to know. Exactly 2 days after the incident surfaced and pressure from the public rose sharply, an internal HYBE document claimed to be leaked by a third party began circulating in closed circles of journalists. The document not only mentions Taehyung and Jungkook by name, but explicitly discusses unofficial meetings and potential loyalty conflicts between members that disrupt the artist's commercial stability. The sentence was a real blast for industry watchers and fans who have long felt there was a tension that had been so well hidden in the entertainment world of South Korea, especially in the structure of large agencies such as HYBE. Everything that can threaten the image of harmony between BTS class boy groups is a direct threat to the flow of profits. But this time, the issue is not just a matter of image. It touches on the personal space, integrity, and even identity of each individual who has been living in the shadow of global expectations. Some former creative staffers who had previously been silenced by confidentiality contracts began to speak out, partly out of disappointment, partly out of a sense of responsibility. One of them, in an unofficial interview, stated that, for years, The closeness between Jungkook and Taehyung has been a sensitive issue internally because it was too intense, too emotional, and too uncontrollable by the agency's schedule. He recounts a behind-the-scenes moment of the 2019 World Tour, when Taehyung disappeared for one night amid a busy schedule, and it was only discovered the next morning that he was in Jungkook's private apartment, which was not even used as an official residence at the time. When asked, the two only answered with an ambiguous smile. But from then on, security staff were given specific instructions to watch the non-scheduled movements of the two of them passively. This is not a romance story. It's not a loose change rumor. It's about two humans living inside a giant machine called the K-pop industry, trying to defend something that no one can really understand or accept. That what's even crazier? A studio technician, who was in charge of backing up the members' solo song recording files, claimed that in Jungkook's personal folder was a file hidden under an unusual password, track_locked_final. The file was never registered in the official production system and could only be accessed from a single device in his home studio. Is this a secret song made together? Or something too personal to release? The fact that the file name contained the initials V, aka Taehyung, set the public on fire again. HYBE, up to this point, has chosen not to answer media questions. But as always, their actions speak louder than words. They began to clean up the digital archive. Old promotional videos showing the intense interaction between Jungkook and Taehyung began to slowly disappear from the official website. Even the old concert posters that featured them side by side have now been replaced in the latest digital version. This is not just a revision. It's a kind of systematic separation that leaves a bitter taste for many fans. And in the midst of all this, came one account that referred to himself as a former visual editor for BTS's documentary videos. He said he was once asked by the production team to cut certain parts of a 2020 documentary that showed Taehyung holding Jungkook's phone while crying in a van after a concert. The scene, he said, was too emotionally raw and was decided never to be released. But pieces of the picture from the footage are now starting to spread. Taken from the leaked raw file, it was clearly seen how Taehyung's expression was so shattered, and Jungkook just looked on silently, without words. Did they fight that night? Was it the night when things started to crack? Even now, in all the chaos that was unfolding, the one thing that was most devastating was their silence. Neither Jungkook nor Taehyung issued a single word directly to the public. There were no clarifications, no statements, only a long silence that made all speculation grow wild like fire in a dry forest. And in a world where every gesture, every sentence, even every facial expression can be dissected by millions of eyes in seconds, that silence sounds louder than any scream. That ARMY is now at a crossroads. Some persist with the narrative that this is simply the result of media manipulation and agencies trying to create distraction. But not a few also feel that this is a truth that has long been buried deep and is now urgently coming out from behind the walls under the guise of professionalism. Because how can a friend break into someone's house in the middle of the night unannounced, leave a digital trail that can't be erased, and just walk away? And then the days that follow are filled with public memory erasure by their own agency?